Hello, good evening, and welcome to Monkeys with Fire. How's everybody tonight? Hope you're all well. Hope you had a good weekend. So then, we are going to be taking a look at what is going to be a brand new release this week. We are going to be doing a first look at Call of Cthulhu, the Sutra of Pale Leaves, Twin Suns Rising from Chaosium Inc. This is a brand new release of 3 adventures that can be part of a campaign. The game is available to pre-order right now, and it's released this week. So there is a link in the video description. You can go and click on that. I believe you get the PDF straight away, and then of course you get your hardbacked version of the book as soon as it launches. I think it launches on the 11th, so what's that? It's going to be Wednesday, isn't it? So just a couple of days away. So our thanks, of course, to Chaosium Inc. for providing a early copy for us to take a look at this evening. We very much appreciate that. Right, now because this is a campaign supplement, we're going to have to throw up the spoilers, because we are potentially going to hit upon some aspects of the game that might ruin it for players. So if you intend to want to play these particular scenarios, then you might want to tap out at a certain point. I will throw up the spoilers again when we get to the nitty-gritty of the story. But of course, if you are going to be playing as a keeper, then this will be hopefully the perfect show for you to get an idea whether this is the type of game your players are going to want to, play. Right. Let's jump to the table and take a look. Okay, so here we go. We'll take a look at the back before we come and look at this wonderful artwork on the front cover. Let's set the scene somewhat. So, unmasking the King in Yellow. Forgotten for centuries, the Sutra of Pale Leaves has resurfaced in 1980s Japan, a time of excess, conspicuous consumption, and enormous technological changes. A hypnotic text, this ancient tome inspires creative people, from poets to manga artists, online gamers to fashionistas. In the hands of those who revere it, the sutra is about to remake the world. The Sutra of Pale Leaves, Twin Suns Rising contains 3 scenarios that can be played as standalone scenarios or as a campaign, or combined with the companion volume, the Sutra of Pale Leaves, Carcosa Manifest, to form an extended experience. So the scenarios are Dream Eater, strange dreams of monsters torment the people. And this is where I am going to fail tonight over and over again. Regulars to the channel will know that my only preferred language is Elvish. Oh gosh, here we go, let's go. Ikauga? Ikauga? I'm gonna go with that. I apologize to everybody that I am gonna mispronounce all of these names. Fanfic. Rumors speak of a cursed manga comic book. The Pallid Mask of Tokyo. A murder is discovered, but the corpse has no face. So the Sutra of Pale Leaves, Twin Suns Rising contains a new take on the infamous mythos entity, the King in Yellow. 3 modular scenarios for standalone or campaign play. A guide to the Sutra of Pale Leaves and its insidious effects, associated cultists and monsters. Guidance on Japan during the frenetic 1980s boom era. 6 ready-to-play investigators. And a range of NPC confidants. So the Sutra of Pale Leaves, Twin Sun Rising is designed to be used with the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game and optionally the Pulp Cthulhu supplement. For mature readers, the scenarios in this book deal with mature themes and are intended for mature players. So there we go. Hello, Dr. Taylor. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining us. So, we've got a little bit of an intro, and I've been really interested looking at these various scenario books, campaign books for Call of Cthulhu, just to see the different styles that they present these adventures in. And this is an interesting one, and we'll go through it as we flick through. So, Encountering the King in Yellow in 1980s Japan. Now, I've read a little bit of H.P. Lovecraft's mythos, but not everything, because there's a lot. And I wasn't familiar with the King in Yellow, and so I actually did learn a reasonable amount from taking a look at this book, and I was flipping between books a little bit on it, so this was kind of an interesting experience, and I enjoyed that. I like the artwork. This is all really nice. We've got, obviously, well, we've got the King in Yellow, but we'll learn a little bit more about them in a bit. And I think we've got, here we go, the Sutra of Pale Leaves. So I guess if you are a fan, or if you know the lore, then there's lots of things jumping out on the page here for you to enjoy. But I like that nice cover. Let's jump on in, so we get to see it obviously in the double page spread. Talking about the book, if you are a fan of the Call of Cthulhu games and the obviously playing the role-playing game and have got many of these books from Chaosium Inc., then you already know the quality of the book, which of course is incredibly high. It is laid out in what would be a typical style for their other books within the range, so I wasn't sort of seeing anything which was different and strange for me. Having already seen a couple, I could work my way through this no problem. We got the contents here. We're getting a bit of an introduction. We're getting our campaign background, chapter 1, but then chapters 2 through to 4 are the 3 adventures that are part of this book, and this is where at chapter 2 I will throw up the spoilers, so that those who do not want to have anything ruined are able to tap out at that point. We then have an appendices, and a glossary, and an index. We are able to download various handouts and maps. And I think there's also, as it says here, maps featured in this book can be downloaded for free, along with player-focused versions of the maps and 6 pre-generated investigators from Chaosium.com, which is always really, really good. There's always good digital support for all of their games, which is very much appreciated. We do have our content advisory, because it is a horror themed game, then you want to make sure that the content within the game is suitable for everybody around your table. There are various safety tools that you can take as a guide that can be available online. Ultimately, have a chat with everybody just to make sure that there's nothing that's going to unsettle somebody, because we want everybody to have fun, don't we? It does point out, of course, that there will be certain elements that of that time would not be. It's not the done thing today. So we don't necessarily need to make our 1980s setting exactly as things were at that time, because it might make some people feel a bit uncomfortable. So that being the case, we can tailor the game to suit everybody around the table. Okay, so we got a bit of an introduction here, and this was the first thing that I wasn't aware of, is that the King in Yellow wasn't written by H.P. Lovecraft, and actually it's by Robert W. Chambers, and it is about, is it Hastur? So this is the god of shepherds, and this Hastur has been then sort of worked into the Cthulhu mythos, and then so when I sort of saw this, I then had to go and jump to the Keeper's rulebook. So I have this to one side here. Let me just move this across, because I then wanted to see, well, okay, what did the rulebook cover on Hastur? So we do actually have some bits. Have I got it right here? Here we go. Yes, so we have, first of all, the King in Yellow. And this is actually looking at various tomes of eldritch lore. And saying here the original is in French, apparently. And that edition was seized and destroyed. And then there's an English edition. There's a thin black volume across the front cover, which is embossed a large yellow sign. So until the book has been read, the sign has no effect on the viewer except to imbue a sense of curiosity. So after reading the book, viewing the sign costs sanity points. The text is an ambiguous, dreamlike play that opens readers to madness. Uniquely, readers cannot opt to disbelieve what is written here. Those of an artistic bent will feel compelled to reread the play. If the book results in insanity, the reader should become obsessed with Carcosa and the King in Yellow. So that was cool to sort of get this and to see where the sort of the original aspect of it, as we'll be jumping to the 1980s and having this reimagined version. And so we then have the section here on Hastur the Unnameable, and giving some details on the cult of Hastur. So the cult of Hastur is moderately common on Earth, and what does it say? The Brothers of the Yellow Sign. Hastur's cult is particularly loathsome and is more widely known of than it is belonged to. Worshippers refer to Hastur as he who is not to be named, and this may be misapprehension stemming from his title, the Unspeakable. So I liked coming back to the core rules to see this, and we do have the King in Yellow avatar of Hastur. There's actually quite a few, and I think Hastur does appear in different guises, if I've understood this correctly. So the King in Yellow might be human seeming, clad in tattered yellow or party-coloured rags, and wearing a pallid mask. The rags are extensions of the entity's flesh, while the mask covers horrible pseudopods that can attach to a target and drain the very life from them. Yeah, it's all sounding really, really good. So that's the main sort of version, but we're going to go back to this reimagined version, and it takes a fair amount to sort of explain how they are redoing the King in Yellow story, but in a modern setting, and I thought that was really, really cool. So gives us all this sort of breakdown. And as it says here, we designed a campaign for 3 to 6 investigators, all of whom should be at least somewhat fluent in Japanese. This, of course, is the investigators, not the players. The primary themes and content draw inspiration from The King in Yellow by Robert W. Chambers. Astute readers may notice direct callbacks to the source material. The stories also take inspiration from Japanese folklore and religious traditions. Similarly, the artwork featured in each scenario shows various styles with Japanese influence, such as woodblock prints, manga, Art Nouveau, and pop art. And as we go through the book, I will point out some of the great full-page art images, which are fantastic, really, really nice. It explains that this is a modular campaign, which is set from 1986 to 1987, and it does detail this companion volume. So we do have in this, we have the full campaign background, then we have the free scenarios, Dream Eater, Fanfic, and Pallid Masks of Tokyo. And then we have the companion volume, which I believe is going to be released in a few months' time. So we have a summary campaign background, and then we have the Bridge Maiden Part 1, Wonderland, the Bridge Maiden Part 2, and the Fixer. And this goes all the way up into 1990. And this I found was interesting, this ever-evolving antagonist. So, designing the Sutra of Pale Leaves with replayability in mind, as each scenario has several possible paths and outcomes while remaining connected to the larger narrative. So throughout the campaign, investigators learn that the Prince of Pale Leaves transcends reality and is constantly evolving. So as a keeper, you can run the Sutra campaign a second time for one or more players. The Prince may remain aware of what happens before. It's as if he's seen an alternate timeline or one of a million possible futures he has simulated. If he was defeated last time, he takes countermeasures, so the exact same strategy never works twice for the same group. I thought this was brilliant. This is a great way of being able to replay the scenario and do things slightly different. But the Prince understands what's happening, but the players, they tried the same plan, and of course it's not going to work because he's already worked out a different way of dealing with that. I thought that was quite cool. It's a nice little touch. We get a bit of a map here of Japan and the regions, locations that we'll be exploring during these particular adventures. As it points out that it's impossible for this to basically cover everything that you would need to know about Japan in the 1980s, but it's trying to give you a quick overview. Of course, there are many resources that you can take a look at to give you a little bit more background, should you wish. But I found this actually was a good read, and it was a good sort of quick summary of how Japanese culture has built up and expanded from essentially since, well, they're talking about here, of course, post World War II, aren't they? Moving into the 1980s. Talking about what life is like as a working adult or as a student. Notable popular culture, music, comics, television, computer games. That was actually quite an important one for me because in the 1980s I did get hold of an MSX computer. Early Konami days. I used to love playing Metal Gear Solid and, of course, Castlevania. So, yes, I have very, very fond memories of the mid to late 80s playing on my MSX. Penguin Adventure. What fun. If you are old enough to remember the MSX, leave it in the chat. Tell me what your favourite game was, because I thoroughly enjoyed the MSX back in the day. We've got a map here of the subways of Tokyo. We get a little bit of info about organised crime. What I've seen this in some games, and I'm not sure, I don't think this has it, but what I found useful is where they list various TV shows or movies that can be helpful to get an idea of the setting. I think, I'm trying to think of, is there a movie with Michael Douglas that's set in Tokyo during the 80s? I can't for the life of me now think of the name of the movie. I wonder if that would be useful. But yes, talking about organised crime. So violent crime levels in Japan are comparable to those in Western Europe and much lower than those in the US. Talks about the Yakuza, Japan's organised crime syndicates. We get a little bit of idea on that. We then talk about building investigators. So understanding Japanese names. Here we go. I could do with this. Pronouncing Japanese words and names. That's actually quite useful. Pre-generated player characters. So there are 6 ready-made investigators available for use, and starting or replacement characters which we can download. Equipment. Talking about archery. Bows and arrows are perfectly legal to carry and own in Japan. So we got the traditional Japanese archery as a national sport. Even high school students frequently carry bows in long bags or cases on public transport. Didn't know that. So it was only... the arrows, on the other hand, are limited to practice type only. Lethal arrows are restricted and bow hunting is illegal. And that's the same. The law treated crossbows the same as bows until a series of murders in 2020, which prompted new laws to regulate them with similar strictness to rifles and shotguns. Computers and the internet. So 1980s typical desktop machines in the era included the IBM and the Apple Macintosh. And here we go. So of course those who couldn't afford a PC could still enjoy games in the many arcades around the country, or at home with a Nintendo Famicom console or a MSX home computer. The internet as we know it today was in its infancy. The World Wide Web did not launch until 1991. So there is no internet at this time. But you can play Pong or Space Invaders or Pac-Man. So that's okay. We've got a little call out here that there are no ninjas. So much to the dismay of many tourists, modern Japan is not swarming with black-clad super assassins. Section on firearms, on money, pages, of course. Yes, and then phones. My goodness, look at that. So it's not exactly that everyone's going around with a mobile phone, but there'll be some people. So it does talk a little bit about swords. And then transportation, we saw the subway map. And in fact, look at that subway map. It's so many more lines than what the London tube has. My goodness, there's so many there. Again, we've got the major locations pointed out here, but I suppose you could quite easily get hold of a modern day subway map if you wanted to add more locations. So then we get this background on the sutra itself, and it goes into quite a lot of detail on this. So as it says here, words have power according to the ancient indigenous beliefs that developed into the Shinto religion. Everything has a soul or divine spirit, even inanimate objects. So imagine for a moment that this is true, and now imagine a mysterious cosmic entity has this power, the power of words, down to a science, and yields it as a tool or perhaps as a weapon. Imagine this weapon aimed at Earth, wrapped in a promise of uniting and uplifting all of humankind and fulfilling all their greatest desires. So this weapon is in fact a book housing a viral consciousness, a trans-dimensional artificial mind in analog code. Various iterations and mutations of it have appeared here and there throughout human history, but now the core book surfaced again in 1980s Japan in the guise of a sutra or holy scripture. In this period, more than any other, many of Japan's citizens engage in excess, overwork, overspending, binge drinking, risk-taking, preoccupation with hobbies, and obsession with success. These factors have created what is perhaps a most virulent breeding ground for this mimetic weapon, the Sutra of Pale Leaves. So this is actually really cool on how they take that play, that French play idea, but now reimagine it for this setting. And we're going to get to see that in the various scenarios. And it goes into a lot of detail. So if you've never read The King in Yellow, which I did a quick summary, so I've got a general idea of how the story plays out. But this gives you everything you need to know. Of course, putting it into this modern day setting and bringing in the rule elements for actual play. And there's quite a lot, as you can see. So we got the original sutra, modernized, graphic. So I think this is for the manga version of it, isn't it? Again, this is bringing in the actual rules elements to the game here, not just the text. We then got magic and monsters, mystic signs. So do we have the yellow sign as part of this? Yes, we do. Here we go. So the most prominent of the signs embedded in the sutra is the personal seal of the prince, a strange mark drawn in yellow on black background. Normally it's dormant, and most people would think nothing of it if they notice it at all. But as the sutra's influence grows and the prince begins manifesting, the sign becomes active. We have some associated monsters, adherents of the unspeakable oath. So after heavy exposure to the sutra's power, a believer too unstable to be a suitable host may make an oath to the prince, freeing them from the limitations of flesh. These rare individuals change slowly. Their cells are reprogrammed and repurposed. Their bodies become plastic and mutable, and soon they are no longer human. Often their minds are too far gone to make full use of their powers, dooming these adherents of the oath to become monstrous outcasts. And then we do get information on the prince himself. Bit of an overview, appearance, guidance on how to roleplay as the prince. Amazing artwork here, really nice. Powers and abilities, known weaknesses. More detail on the unspeakable truth, the association of pale leaves, and then is this a cult worksheet? So there really is a lot of background. Of course, as the keeper, you really do want to read through all of this, become very, very comfortable with this information. So this is actually going into the cult, isn't it? Headquarters, financing, structure. And then we have this inner circle of key antagonists. Various NPCs. I just want to double check here. So, yes, customary for the followers of the prince to wear yellow. Yeah, so it really is looking at the entire cult, isn't it? So we'll move through those. We don't want to go too far on looking in on details on this. We've got a chronology going back C400, the BCE, going into the 18th century, all the way up into 1985, 1988. So stages of societal infection. Yeah, there's a lot of detail here. We got various confidants. Confidants are available from the beginning of the campaign, provide important hooks that link each scenario together. Each confidant provides distinct kinds of support for the investigators and gives a slightly different thematic spin on the campaign. Confidants may also provide a method for the investigators to regain sanity after the conclusion of a scenario. Again, I really am liking the artwork throughout this. This is really good. We got a bit of a call out here on Buddhism. And that is essentially the background. This is everything that you need. So there's a reasonable amount there. What we're up to page 50, effectively. So it's a reasonable amount, but maybe, you know, not too much. But it's a good read. Now, if I'm right, because I think that, because of course Call of Cthulhu has been around for quite some time, and this is, pretty sure this is version 7, isn't it, now? I always find it interesting to look in the credits to see where some of the text and some of the background may have come from. So I think that there is a version of this that has been since 1984. I can't even say that I met Masks of Nylarov of Tep. Yeah, I'm ruining that. But then we do have the Chaosium Yellow Sign from 1989. And this, I think this is a team, Sons of a Singularity, have worked heavily on this. And I think that they've done another sort of game scenario based in Japan. I think I'm right in saying that. But yes, there we go. Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. So we've got a reasonable amount there, but hopefully all of that sort of sets the stage and gives keepers and players a good idea of what Japan was like during the 1980s. So I'm going to have a quick scan through because I don't want to go into too much, and I'm going to put up the spoilers here just in case anything is seen that might ruin it. This is really for keepers only. So we get a section here, keeper background, so explaining the actual situation. Now, something that I saw, I'm going to have to skip to the front again because I thought this was actually quite useful. Again, more games should do things like this. Where is it? Let me find it. Here we go. So, scenario navigation. So, to assist the keeper in moving the action from scene to scene, each scenario has a scenario flowchart suggesting the route the clues are likely to take investigators. Players may always do something unexpected, of course. They may spend time on distractions based on mistaken guesses. They may have to backtrack sometimes. They may even make intuitive leaps and get ahead of the plot. But flowcharts show the optimal plot progression. So each scene in a scenario has the following headers. We have a location, lead in, lead out, and purpose. So let's just see how that translates into this actual scenario. So we're getting a little bit of background here. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail on this because I don't want to ruin everything. We've got various hooks. hooks. We have our key characters that we will meet on this particular scenario. Getting a description, traits, and role-playing hooks. We got our starting location, sets our date, location, and purpose. So here we go. I think this is our first element of this flowchart. Ah, or is this it? If it's a graphical flowchart, that's even better. I feel like I've got to now go and jump and look at... So we do actually know, here we go, we have the town hall, location, lead in hooks 1, 2, and 4, lead out, meeting... Ah, okay, here we go. So yes, we do have a graphical version, but this then... So we start in the town. Let's just go here. Yep, starting in the town. From the town, we could go talk to townsfolk, or we could meet... Is it Taniguchi? I am ruining that name. I know I am. So, here's the exploring town. Town hall. And then, so talking to townsfolk. And there we go. Meeting Taniguchi. Oh, right, that's actually really good. I appreciate this. I think this is really, really helpful, and more games should have something like this. Granted, of course, as it pointed out, players may jump ahead, may work something out, even if they're getting it slightly wrong. But I think this as a guide for the keeper is really useful. You know what would have been helpful? Having little page numbers, so you knew where to jump. That would have been quite handy. We got a bit of a map here. Again, I'm not going to sort of drill into any detail because, of course, I don't want to ruin it. I just want to see how this is laid out and just appreciate some of this artwork, which is beautiful. And in fact, now I want to go and take a look at the next campaign, scenario. Oh wow. That's brilliant. So there's actually quite a bit here. We were on page 50, wasn't we? We get into the final encounter. We of course do have ribbon bookmark, as we might expect. It's in yellow, of course. And yeah, we're up to... We've got various monster stats here. So we've got some 40 pages for that first scenario. Again, beautiful artwork. I really do like that they've sort of lent into different sort of Japanese art styles. I think that's really, really cool. So now I want to have a look and see, do they do that graphical overview? We're getting our background. Nice, like this. We've got our hooks. 5 hooks, it would seem. We have our characters, and again, all the art is suitable for this manga themed scenario. Which is cool. Ah, okay. That's actually that's really good. I like it. Again, page numbers would have been really helpful. That's actually quite cool. So, exploring a manga market. The start. Where was the start? Here we go. Start. A train that will take you far away. December 26, 1986. So yeah, location, lead out, manga market. Okay, so purpose: after witnessing a bizarre incident in public, the investigators push on to find a copy of the Tale of Pale Leaves manga. That would actually... Oh, wow. I don't think they did it, but what happens if they just did a little handout of the manga? Do we have that? That would be quite cool. Or maybe a very industrious keeper might produce one. So we go to the manga market. Problem is that if I was playing it, I'd probably end up just staying at the market all the time. So here we go. So lead in was the preceding, it was the start. Lead out, you can either go to the black market, the king of corruption. And so in fact, it did show us, didn't it? So black market, king of corruption, manga market day 2. Okay, so Coda's Studio. I get the... Obviously, I appreciate the style. I just find this maybe a little harder to sort of navigate, but that's fine. I guess you'll get used to it. This is cool. I'm liking this. Oh yeah, here we go. That's really good. Bit of a handout. We got King of Corruption. We end up on a dance floor? Why not? Why not? And then the final scenario. But again, these are actually pretty long, aren't they? Again, we've done another, gosh, 40 to 50 pages. So the Pallid Masks of Tokyo. I am really liking the fact of they've lent into these different art styles, different settings. I think that's really good. I was watching a sort of anthology movie at the weekend and having different sort of stories being told, and I really like that. So it's a similar thing here. So let's take a look at... Okay, yeah, that's an easier one for me to work out. These are really good. Again, I saw something similar in another game system and hoped that they were going to continue it through, and unfortunately they didn't. But I think having some kind of flow image like this for an adventure is really, really helpful. Let me know in the chat if you've played games that have, but are not obviously not Call of Cthulhu, but have this type of mechanic in them to help you navigate. I'd be interested to see which ones you've played. So, Morgue of the Faceless. Got some detectives. There we go. Oh, that's really cool. Oh, this is nice. Yeah. So this is actually a bit shorter, it would seem. So, continuing the campaign. As each scenario ends, whether in victory or failure, the investigators have a choice whether to press on in their quest to thwart the Prince of Pale Leaves and his cult. The Keeper, the companion volume, Sutra of Pale Leaves, Carcosa Manifest presents 4 further scenarios that may either be used to extend the campaign or as standalone adventures. And so we have 4 additional ones. And then we have an appendices just going through glossary with quite a lot of Japanese words here, so that you can hopefully set the scene a little bit better. I'm not going to try and pronounce any of these because I think I would ruin them all. So that's a quick look through. I'm definitely intrigued. I like the idea of taking a classic story from the Cthulhu mythos and then resetting it in a new time period, in a new country, where as a distinct sort of culture that can influence the stories that are being told. So this is really, really good. I like this a lot. I'm going to have a proper sit down and read through, and hopefully at some point then I might be able to bring it to the table. I'm certainly interested then to see how these other 4 scenarios bolt onto this. I can't imagine we ever get to fully defeat the King in Yellow, but at least we can have a go. But yeah, interested to see where it goes. So, there you go. If you have any questions about the Sutra of Pale Leaves, Twin Suns Rising, do leave a comment in the video and I will do my best to answer them for you. Please keep an eye on social media channels for what game we'll be taking a look at next. Typically we'll have a show next week, but that's the best way to stay informed. Thanks very much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you next time. But until then, bye for now.